everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Our Golden 20s. Today, we are wanting to talk about love languages and how we can use love languages to guide our self-love and our self-care too. So we think this is going to be a good episode. I'm Sadie. I have Teagan here with me.
Hi.
I guess I didn't say that part. But I think we're just going to jump right into it today and try to keep this one maybe on the shorter side.
See, I feel like as soon as you say that, it's going to be like so long.
I was just going to say that too. It's like I just jinxed it. So get ready for the next 2 hours to talk about love languages. Just kidding. But yeah, so Tag, to be honest, I don't know much about love languages until starting to get ready for this podcast episode. So I just took the quiz and now I'm really into it and I want to talk it through. And I think it'll be super interesting just to, like we said, tie it into self-care too. So what is your love language? Yeah, maybe we should start by explaining what love languages are.
Sure, yeah. So I feel like people have been hearing about love languages because it's kind of buzzwordy. Basically, Gary Chapman wrote a book in the 90s about how he believes there are 5 ways to express and experience love. And for a lot of people who think they're having relationship troubles, one of the first things you find online is oh, well, you should read about the 5 love languages. Because a lot of problems in relationships could be stemming from you're showing love to your partner and your partner showing love to you, but you want love in a different way. So he broke it down into 5 categories, which are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And so maybe hearing that, there's one that automatically jumps out at you, but there are also so many quizzes. You can do quizzes as a couple if you're in a relationship, or you can do a kind of solo quiz. And it's basically the way you most appreciate being shown love. So if your partner is going out of their way to do all these acts of service for you, but that's not how you want to receive love, they're frustrated because they're going out of their way to do all this stuff for you. You're frustrated because you're you're not showing me love. And so it's a good way to kind of check, how do I want to receive love in my relationship? So I did the quiz, and my love language is receiving gifts, which sounds, I feel rude maybe. The way I want you to show me love is by buying me things. But for me personally, I feel it more as I like the idea that you saw something small throughout your day that reminded you of me. That's the aspect of it that I like, and that you are thinking about me when we're apart in a way that you're oh, I know that Teagan would love blank, so I'd get that for her. And it's, not about monetary value or anything like that. But yeah, that was mine. And I think my second one was acts of service. And another thing I think to point out too is that your love language, as far as how you want to receive love, might be different from how you want to give love. Maybe you really want acts of service, but you don't want to show your love that way. You want to show your love with words of affirmation too. So it kind of works both ways. But so what was your love language, Sadie?
Yeah. So my love language actually was also receiving gifts. And like you were saying, Tag, I was kind of surprised. Just because it kind of had this very materialistic vibe to me. And I was really? That's my love language? Because, and like you were saying, when you read out the 5 different love languages, receiving gifts was probably the last one to like jump out at me. But when I was reading like what that meant after the quiz was done, it just kind of like gave you a little blurb, and it was exactly like what you said. It was all about the thoughtfulness behind a gift, and you know, someone really listening to you so that they can pick out like a super perfect personalized gift for you. And I was like, yes, like I love that so much. However, so I think my like receiving gifts was like 30%, like it was like my top at 30%, and then quality time was like 29%. So I'm like almost an even mix of receiving gifts and quality time. But I feel like both of those are just like really tied to like thoughtfulness and like, you know, quality. I know it's like quality time, but just like quality time getting to know somebody or getting to know yourself, and then seeing that come through in gifts. So I yeah, was kind of surprised with my results, but I also find it funny that we're both receiving gifts.
I feel like we're both good gift givers too. Maybe because we're
Yes.
like thoughtful, because we're trying to show our love in a way that we would appreciate, and then our friends are probably like,
Yes.
you psychos, no one puts this much thought into gifts. But
yeah, okay, I was thinking the exact same thing. When I got receiving gifts, I was like, I love giving gifts more than I like receiving them, but it makes sense. Like that is how I show my love. And even like you said, it doesn't necessarily need to be like a monetary value, but it's just like something that I like really think through, and just like I wrap it really nicely. Like I love giving gifts. So that is definitely a way that I show my love. And then show my love. I love how that comes out. But also like kind of transitioning to now like the self-care side of things. I also find it just like so funny because I'm like I always have like a list of things I want to buy at some point on the go. And usually I'm just like browsing the internet or see things on Pinterest, and I save it to a board. I have like a hidden shopping list board on Pinterest. And I found that so funny because I would never think of it as like a gift to myself. It's more just like another online purchase, you know? But while we kind of go through how you can turn each of these love languages into self-love, like if you're receiving gifts is your love language, like buying yourself gifts is like the number one way to do that. And now I'm like, I just set one of my monthly goals when I like was doing it on my own, not just for the podcast. I'm not going to do any online shopping for June. So I'm like not going to like say, I'm now going to like view all my online purchases as gifts to myself and like justify it that way. Like, no, but it's just like, I don't know, a different way to think of it. And it resonated for me, put things into perspective. Why I get so much joy out of online shopping.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with some of these, it could be like in my mind, I would think I would like the words of affirmation. But then I feel like when it actually comes into play in my life, I'm not ready to receive the words of affirmation. You know what I mean? So it could be like you're hearing these and you're thinking, like physical touch is what I want and how I would like to receive love. But then maybe you get embarrassed to hold hands in public. So I feel like taking the quiz is like a good way, because it basically, at least the quiz I did, gave you two options and you kind of ranked them. So it'd be like, would you rather have someone say I love you or hold your hand? And so you kind of rank all the different qualities kind of beside each other to get your like final ranking. But yeah, it's interesting. And then there are people who, like, I love acts of service and I do not show my love that way, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I do. But it's just weird. It's weird to think about. And we're all, like, different. And so if you feel like maybe you and your significant other are, like, not jiving, this could be a good starting place. But outside of
conversation starter.
Yeah, exactly. And so outside of like being in a relationship, what we kind of had planned for this episode was talking about the 5 love languages and how you can kind of like apply them in self-care, because obviously like not everyone listening is in a relationship, but I still feel like it's a good way to kind of look at the different aspects of your life and treat yourself outside of like, I'm going to treat myself by buying ice cream or buying myself flowers. Now it's like, maybe that doesn't resonate with you. Well, maybe it's because your love language is something else, and here's how you can do it yourself.
Yeah, I almost view this as like, there's so many different like personality quizzes and like things you can like look into to learn more about yourself. And I feel like love languages is just another one of those. And exactly like you're saying, Take, like it's good to know that about yourself when you're in a relationship. But even if you're not in a relationship, it's still good to know this. And then how you can like action like little things in your day-to-day that is like expressing love to yourself. And even if you are in a relationship, like you still need to give yourself like love, So definitely a good exercise to go through. I love this.
Yeah, I feel like it's also worth mentioning too that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a romantic relationship. Like maybe you're like, I feel like my parents don't love me and what's going on, but they're probably showing their love in, acts of service when you want quality time or whatever, or it's the same with friendship. So if you are feeling like a disconnect from basically anyone, including yourself, it's an interesting way to kind of look at it. So let's get into some self-love.
Okay, I love it. So I think the first one, words of affirmation. Like you said, I was also thinking that would maybe be one of my top ones, but it ranked pretty low for me.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like self-love, I feel like words of affirmation is super key for me. Like I'm always coming up with little mantras to repeat to myself every day. And I think like my overall like internal voice is quite positive, and it didn't used to be that way, but just like over years of me like dedicating time to like learning who I am, what I want, what I value, I've like really got this like positive mindset or like positive self-talk narrative going in my head. And I honestly think that's like words of affirmation to a T. If you can find a mantra that resonates with you. And for me, like I usually only like I don't say a mantra every single day to myself. It's usually just like in certain times that I come back to like this one specific mantra or whatever it is. And it might be the same mantra over a year. It might be over a few years. Whatever it is, you'll probably just find it comes up from time to time. So I think that's a good one to start with for sure.
Yeah, I feel like all of these you should kind of be incorporating into your life. Like just because you did the quiz and your top language is receiving gifts, you should still try and do all of these things. And same if you're in a relationship and your partner only likes acts of service. That doesn't mean you stop doing the rest. So yeah, I feel like for words of affirmation, I have a hard time being receptive to them. But I agree that, having mantras, and whether it's you're writing them down, because that's still self-talk, or you're literally saying them out loud, or you're thinking them in your head, these are all words of affirmation for yourself. There are a lot of really nice kind of like affirmation podcasts out there. So if you look up, say like affirmation podcast for self-confidence, and you can find episodes where they're like, just repeat what I'm saying to yourself, that kind of stuff. So that's a good way if you're kind of lost and don't know what to even say to yourself. That's a good option. I feel like consciously trying to reframe your self-talk to be more positive can be like a huge act of self-care, but it's hard, but it can be good.
It's hard, and it takes a lot of like a long time to basically rewire your brain, but yeah, it's definitely a good thing to start working on if you're not already working on it, and just something to even just be conscious of for sure.
Yeah, and the last thing is journaling, which we obviously talk about a lot, but it is, self-talk.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, if you're not somebody who journals like once a week or, once a day, even like once a month, if journaling isn't really resonating for you, but you want to incorporate more words of affirmation, maybe it's like just journaling like once a year kind of thing, like or once a month, like however often doesn't seem too daunting to you. And it's more so like writing a letter to yourself, you know? So it's like reflecting maybe on like the past year or setting yourself up for like a new year, but writing a letter to yourself to like affirm what you want or who you are or who you want to be. I think that could go a long way if you're not a regular journaler.
For sure. So
Yeah.
the next love language is quality time, which I feel like in a relationship is very obvious what it is, but it's maybe less obvious and maybe one of the self-care practices that's the easiest to kind of skip over and overlook, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just like hard for us to wrap our minds around time alone being quality time.
Yeah.
You know, like I think just like us in general, like people, we just feel like we constantly need to be doing something when we're alone or just in general. But when, like you're saying, but when you're like with your partner or with a friend or with your parents or family, just being together is enough. But when we're on our own, just like being on our own isn't enough. We need to do something to feel productive and, you know. So it is tough, but I think it's so important. And being like present and intentional with quality time alone, but it's super hard to do, but important to do. So I think just like, I don't know, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like I'm the type of person who like plans out my week. And from that, I know what days I'm going to be productive. So I know also what days I'm going to have like a quieter evening, and therefore it's me spending time alone with myself. You know what I mean? So I know we're recording this podcast on a Tuesday. So Tuesday night, I'm probably not going to have much quality time just like by myself. But Wednesday night, I have nothing on the go. So even if it's just watching Netflix, if it's doing a yoga practice, like whatever it is, it's like that's my night of the week. That is like me time kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like too, quality time, while it can mean kind of like unplugging, being by yourself, say meditating, it can also be like, I'm going to do this thing I want to do by myself and be present in it. Like, I want to cook this meal and I'm just going to like focus on myself and do that, or I'm going to do this yoga practice, but making it intentional and being, you know, happy that it's you by yourself and you're giving yourself quality time to just be on your own.
Totally. And I think when you do, especially if it's like activity focused or adventure focused, like honestly, I don't know how many people listening like have gone for dinner by themselves. That was something I'd never done before until I traveled on my own. And I was like very weirded out about it. Same like going to the movies by yourself. Like that's something I never did until just recently. Well, obviously like a few years ago, pre-COVID. Feels like forever ago. But still, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of funny that it feels weird to do these things alone when it's like, well, why not? You know? But I think it's when you do something that's like actually doing something activity focused or adventure focused, like I said, by yourself, you learn a lot about yourself too. But you have to like really experience it to like know what I mean.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like any kind of intentional alone time, like if you're setting time to be screen free, that can be, you know, counted as quality time. If you're spending time reading or meditating, or if you're like, I'm going to force myself to go to bed early so that I can relax by myself and wind down, I think that also can be, you know, quality time.
Yeah. And I think like if you guys are having a hard time staying committed to like regular me time, quality time, try to like make it a routine thing as part of your week. So like every Saturday afternoon, I do like actually it's like a mix of things that we've talked about and we'll talk about, but I like do groceries, come home, do some sort of workout, and then take a bath. Like those are, it's just like routine every Saturday. That's what I'm doing. hopefully that changes like when things start opening up again and like there's more to look forward to.
Yeah.
But it's just like quality time that I spend with myself, and it's something I look forward to every weekend. So, you know, if like your quality time might be different, but it could be even like every Wednesday at lunchtime, I'm going to walk to Starbucks, and that's my quality time. Like make it routine, make it part of your schedule so that you're for sure getting that time in, and don't make excuses to like put it off, because it is important to spend time with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Even I feel like it doesn't have to be necessarily like healthy if it's just you, you know, trying to give yourself love. Like if it's like you have your favorite TV show and you're like, okay, on Wednesday night, I'm watching my favorite TV show by myself to show myself love. Like that's totally cool. It doesn't always have to be, you know, like as a way of improvement, you know?
Yeah, totally. Awesome.
Cool.
So next one is receiving gifts, which we both said was our primary love language.
Yeah.
So I kind of hinted at this one, like buying yourself little gifts, like would obviously be a way to like show yourself love. So like I was saying, for me, that's could contribute to all the online purchases that I make every single month. But I think it could be just like small things too. So if you are somebody who goes to the grocery store every week, like it could just be like adding little extra something to your cart every week. So if it's like maybe a face mask, if it's fresh flowers, you know, like anything like that. Maybe those are like cliche like self-love items, but you know, it could just be adding a little something extra special for yourself that week.
Yeah, I feel like too another good option is subscribing to like a subscription box where you're like it's literally a surprise for you whenever it arrives, or same with, you know, a magazine subscription where you just like pay up front and then it's a gift that comes every once in a while, is a nice surprise, and it's from you for you only.
Yeah, I love the subscription box idea. I think that's such a like fun idea. And I feel subscription boxes have like really blown up lately, that there's literally one for everything, you know? So it's like regardless what you're interested in, I'm quite sure there's a magazine and a subscription box that you can subscribe to.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it for receiving gifts. This one's kind of hard because it's like we're not made of money to like just buy ourselves everything we want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's
and
like
it's
being
like
thoughtful.
You know what receiving a gift is. Like it's not as abstract as like spending quality time with yourself. Like it's like if you like receiving gifts, a way of self-love is buying yourself a gift.
Buy yourself gifts. True.
But, yeah. So next up is acts of service, and this is another one that's kind of more abstract when you're doing it for yourself as opposed to someone else. So basically it's doing anything. If you were in a typical relationship, it would be doing something to help out your significant other. So reframing it for self-love is doing something to help out yourself or help out your future self. Maybe you want to phrase it that way, but like kind of simple ideas are making your bed in the morning so that when you go to bed, your past self kind of did this act of service for you, all clean. Same with cleaning before you fall asleep so that when you wake up, you're in a clean house. It should be said that like all of these things have to be a part of a relationship. So like even if an act of service isn't your number one thing, like you're probably not going to date someone who never cleans ever and you do 100% of the cleaning. You know what I mean? But it's just like if that's how they show their love to you, like they show you they love you by doing the dishes and grabbing your groceries and doing whatever, but that's not how you want to receive love, this would be like a huge misstep because that person's doing a lot of work, but it's not, you know, it doesn't feel that good for you. But
yeah, totally.
And so a lot of it too is like you have to do these things. Like you have to clean your apartment or else your apartment's messy. But it's like doing little things to basically
to look out. Yeah, looking out for your future self, like you said. Like That's it, 100%. I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
think one way I do this every week for myself is meal planning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm relieving like that stress of like, what am I going to eat tonight from every day of the week because I sat down every Sunday and figured
Mm-hmm.
it out for the whole week. So I think that's a way we can practice acts of service
Mm-hmm.
for like self-love.
Even like, planning your outfits the night before, like kind of relieving yourself of like micro decisions throughout the day
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
Yeah. And I know we're both fans of making to-do lists.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good one too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even just like if it's at the beginning of every day, or like I said, I like to sit down like weekly and kind of map out my week. So it's just like, yeah, showing up for yourself now and like planning it out, or organizing your thoughts and organizing yourself so that your future self has less to worry about and can just like
Mm-hmm.
do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, even like creating a budget, creating a cleaning schedule, creating a routine where
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday you run these errands. If you're reframing it in your mind as something you have to do, rather into something that's like an intentional act of self-care and self-love, I feel like is a good thing.
Yeah. And then the last love language is physical touch. So this one, I was like struggling to come up with like a few different ways because again, I feel this one's like a little more self-explanatory, but I think
Mm-hmm.
like self-massage is a big one, or booking like a professional massage. I do a lot of yoga with Adrienne on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, and she will just like, it's usually like her like wind down practices. She'll be like, and just like massage your feet. Like we'll be sitting in
Mm-hmm.
like cobbler's pose, and she'll be like, just massage your feet for a couple minutes. And there's just something about that is just so like, I just feel like my whole body like relax, even though I'm
Mm-hmm.
like massaging my own feet. You'd think it would be different, but it's not. It does the exact same thing. So definitely recommend that to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like moving your body in general can be kind of
Yeah.
put under physical touch just because it's like your body is feeling, you moving, and it's feeling whether you're like touching parts of your body doing certain poses in yoga, or if you're holding weights, like your body's still feeling the like physical touch element of it, which I think is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, definitely. And then I also like going back to that Saturday routine, like taking a hot bath could definitely fall into this bucket. I like to go all out, like, the bubbles, the Epsom salts, like the
Mm-hmm.
bath bombs. So I think just like that could definitely fall under this bucket. And then after, I always like shave my legs in the tub because I find it so much easier than in the
Mm-hmm.
shower. And then like using, yeah, like a body lotion or something. I think that is like great way to show yourself some love through physical touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Giving yourself like a spa treatment, whether it's like you're painting your
Yeah.
nails or, doing your
Yeah.
skincare routine, you are literally like massaging your own face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just like, it's just hitting me how like all of our like past episodes are like literally falling into one of
Yeah.
these love
Categories.
languages. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like we've talked all about skincare. We've talked all about like screen-free time and like
Mm-hmm.
learning about yourself. And I think this is all just like so good. It definitely like is another perspective, I guess, to have on like self-care.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love this so much.
Yeah. I feel like it would be a good exercise for our listeners, whether you want to like journal it out or you just want to like think about it, but go through the 5 love languages and list out the ways that you kind of like do your own self love in the categories. And then if there's a
Mm-hmm.
category where you have nothing, that's where you're like, okay, I need to figure out ways to show myself, you know, words of affirmation, or I need to like make
Mm-hmm.
an effort to put quality time in my schedule, because I feel like you need all 5 of these to kind of have a healthy and happy relationship with yourself.
Totally. Yeah. And like we said too, like it'd be awesome too if people did that exercise with their partner, or
Mm-hmm.
with any like relationship where, especially like relationships where you're struggling to like find common ground right now, like
Mm-hmm.
I think that exercise would be like super helpful to maybe address some of those pain points.
Yeah, I feel like especially like during COVID, it's hard if your love language is physical touch and you are literally
Mm-hmm.
physically separated from the people who you love, or if it's, quality time and you're like, well, how do I do that if I can't see them? And so it's kind of adapting these as well. So if you really want quality time with someone, then spend the time to schedule in a Zoom call where you just spend
Yeah.
one-on-one time, or, whichever love language it is that you are looking for.
Yeah. Tag, do you and Tyrell have similar love languages?
No. I can't
No?
remember. I want to say his was quality time, almost tied with physical touch.
Okay.
So that's two opposite ones of me.
Yeah.
But and I can tell, like, he shows his love through acts of service.
Okay.
And so I don't
Hmm.
know what I show my love through, but yeah. So then it's
Yeah.
like you have to be aware of, if you're frustrated, like, well, I just did all these acts of service for my girlfriend and she
Yeah.
doesn't even care. But then it's like, well, maybe to her, that's not even a way of showing love,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
So
interesting.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like you need all of these. You can't be in a relationship
Yeah, totally.
and they're showing you quality time and service and physical touch and giving you gifts, but if they don't give you words of affirmation, like,
Yeah.
you're always kind of going to be like lacking there, because you'll be like, they never say I love me.
Exactly.
What the heck? So
yeah, and I'm just imagining, again, this is like not the meaning of receiving gifts, but like somebody who like just gives you gifts but then is like cutting you down with the words they're saying, like obviously that's not a good relationship to be in. But I think that's like really hammers home like the point of you need all of these things and like a good balance of it, for sure.
yeah, and I feel like this gives you a tool as well, where if you are realizing, I want to be receiving gifts, but that's not how they show love, this is kind of a way to easily talk about it, where it's like,
Yeah,
instead of just feeling like, I feel like unloved and I don't know why, you're like, I feel
exactly.
unloved because I would like to receive gifts instead of,
Yeah.
All the acts of service you do for me.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's crazy.
I love this. Yeah, I love this so much. I love all the, like you said, all the tools to get to know myself. And this is a new one for me. So I enjoyed this. I almost want to take the quiz again to see if quality time will like come up first this time, since they were like basically so tied. But we'll see.
Yeah, I want to do a quiz that's how I show my, like, what love language I use to show love.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Probably gift giving. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah. You'll have to sit down, Tyrell, and be like, how do I show you love?
Yeah.
How do you feel love from me?
It's true. I feel like it's also different between like partners and friendships. Because like maybe you, in your friendships, you want quality time more than like physical touch, because you like just don't want to hug your friends all the time. But maybe in your relationship, the number one thing to you is physical touch. And maybe in your family, the number one thing is acts of service. Like, I feel like it maybe is different. I don't know. Need to read Gary Chapman's book.
Such a good point. Yeah. Add that to the reading list.
Yep. It's crazy he wrote it in the 90s and now it's still kicking around as like the number one relationship advice thing.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
Well, just means that, there's some value to it. It's real. It checks out.
Still relevant.
It's effective. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where we are going to leave it for today. DM us if you do the quiz and you learned your love language. We want to know. And we want to know if you receive love that way and if you express love that way. I think that would be so interesting to Teagan's point. So let us know. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Pinterest at Our Golden 20s. We are also on Spotify, dropping some playlists. Teg, I feel we should get a new summer playlist out here soon. So stay tuned for that. And we're also on Patreon. So you can support us on Patreon. We have $2, $6, and $10 a month for you to show support for the podcast. And I think that is it. Lots of places to find us between the weekly episodes.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yay.